This is Nick Baisley from FilmSnobbery and Film Threat. I am here in Park City. It's the Slamdance HQ, and who am I here with?
Phyllis van Amburg.
And Red Simmons.
That's here with.
The first season.
And what is the first season about?
We wanted to be together farming full-time, and we already had a farm that we were running part-time, and dairy seemed to be a good opportunity for us to all be together.
And as far as the farm itself, is I know that some of the environmentalists will ask, is it an organic farm?
It is an organic farm, actually. It's actually happens to be a 100% grass-fed organic farm.
Right.
And sustainable,
Yeah.
all those words.
Yes, because cows can't eat corn, or they're not supposed to eat corn.
That's right. It changes the acidity of the room and makes it sick.
Actually, cows are supposed to eat corn, but cows are bred to eat corn, and cows are supposed to eat grass, and that's the way you
Right.
guys have set it up. Yeah, it's amazing.
So how did you find the subject for the documentary?
Well, Paul, Phyllis, and I have been longtime friends, and so they came over one night for dinner, and I knew that they had been fascinated with farming and that you had a small house out in the country with a couple of pigs, I think, and chickens. Anyway, they came in and they said, we've decided that we're gonna become full-time farmers. And I think that Paul actually said in the movie that he was traveling 12 hours a day away from home, and that you were just tired of spending that much time away from the children. Mm-hmm. And so they decided to be full-time farmers, and we thought about it for a minute, and I called you up. I thought it'd be a great idea to follow them for their first year as they tried to set the farm up.
And how would you, kind of explain your style as a documentary filmmaker? I mean, do you have, other influences that kind of inform the way you shoot, or, are you more of classical, more modern filmmaker? How would you describe it?
Well, if it's a style, it would be the classic cinema verite style of the Maisels and Ricky Leacock, and today with Frederick Wiseman, which is really more of a fly-on-the-wall approach. But I think as a philosophy, I really believe that documentaries and dramatic films can address the same issues and tell stories in the same way. I really don't think that there needs to be a delineating line between the two. I think that documentaries oftentimes we think of in terms of intellectual content, and dramatic films we think of in terms of emotional content. I think that they can do both. I think that documentary films can tell stories in an emotional way. And I think that that's what we were able to do on this.
Yeah, I agree with that, because if you look at like Basil's Grey Gardens, I think that is a very, especially in terms of the style, that fly-on-the-wall approach, but at the same time, I mean, you kind of get an idea of that. That's, yeah. How uncomfortable was it to let someone so intimately into your life on such a, I'm sure it was a long-term basis to get all the footage you needed?
It was not uncomfortable at all. It was unnerving in the very beginning to think that I was going to be filmed, and the normal self-consciousness came up, but it passed very quickly. And I have to say that Rudd was expert at being out of the way and just, staying with us, but not, it was zero interference. We really just went about what we needed to do. And
well, it's interesting because in the very beginning, Paul and Phyllis and I kind of established some ground rules, because I thought that coming into this, we didn't know what was going to happen. They didn't know what I was going to do. So the ground rules were very simple. They're going to do what they're doing with the farm. I'm going to do what I'm doing with the film. If they see that I need help, they're not going to help me. If I see they need help, I'm not going to help them. We're not going to break our roles. They're going to ignore me and just get to a place where they're not looking at me or interacting with me. And I think even more to the point, it was going to be that just ignore him and let's go on our way. And so the other ground rule was that if they ever felt uncomfortable about something and they wanted me to stop filming, then they had every right to say, Rudd, please stop. And I would. That was understood right off the bat. And at the same time, if I ever felt uncomfortable about something and I felt that I needed to stop filming, then I would. So we were, at that point, completely in trust with each other. And I think if you look at the film, if filmmakers look at the film, there's something you'll notice, and I'm not sure you're aware of this, but what I tried to do is I tried to stay roughly 90 degrees off of Phyllis's straight face so that I was always in profile. And what that would mean is that I could see your face and I could see the expressions on your face, but I was right at the edge of your peripheral vision, so that oftentimes you would be aware of me, but you wouldn't see me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that helped a lot to basically allow you to forget that I was there.
I think that establishes a good the look of the film as well, in terms of how you're shooting it as well as consistency.
Yeah. Well, but I also want to say, and since your audience is filmmakers, we were using a zoom lens, and the range on the zoom lens was approximately 35 millimeter with the 35 millimeter camera to something like a 200 millimeter long lens. And what I found that for the most part, I stayed at the wide end of the lens so that I would be able to shoot Paul and Phyllis in such a way that I would be able to get a medium shot of them, but within their environment. And I think probably 85% of the movie was shot somewhere in that 35 to 50 millimeter range, which means that there's really no distortion in the image. It appears the way it appears to natural eyesight, which again allows this sense that you as an audience is sitting there at the table with these people.
Well, I'm assuming also the other character in the movie is the farm, not just the family, but the farm as well. And just out of curiosity, I mean, the farm that you got was kind of a defunct type of dairy farm. Was there a lot of work you had to put into it initially to get it kind of up and running again?
There was. It was. There were all aspects to get it up and running. The fields were in need of fertilization, manure working so that they could produce more. The cows were very thin, and the milk equipment needed updating. It was across the board.
Now, as far as the economy of the farm, it's a dairy farm. Do you guys sell locally within the town, and did that kind of raise a profile or raise any questions in the townspeople for you guys getting a film made about you?
A little bit. We were very busy, and our presence into the town sort of came slowly. It was as neighbors came to us, but yeah, there was a little bit of oh yeah. But even so, he was very good at even staying out of the way, as far as.
But an interesting dynamic happened, and Matt and I talked about it on the second day, because I would be there filming, a camera on shoulder, and the camera we were using, it was not a little portable camera. It was a big 12, 15-pound camera with a lens and batteries and everything else. And what we noticed is that people would come on, and of course they would look at me kind of strangely, and I would very simply quickly say, this is what we're doing. And then you and Paul would go into your zone, and then all of a sudden your neighbors went there too. And it was almost as if because you accepted me, they accepted me. It was a fascinating dynamic.
And you mentioned in the camera that you used. Is there a reason why you used such a bulk setup? Was it to nail the look of the film, or was it more so because you wanted to capture a certain realness to, and the only way you could do that was with that sort of image, with that sort of camera, as opposed to a lot of, documentary filmmakers nowadays, it's just like, no, run and gun, hand me a DSLR and send me on my way.
Yeah, no, it was a very conscious choice. When I started planning the look of the movie, I very much wanted it to have a film look. Now, what that means is that traditional contemporary video is pretty much at 60 frames a second, almost. And what that is a very crisp, sharp look. Also, most video cameras are at 1080i, I think, which is, again, a high resolution. But it's almost too hyper-real. So what I wanted is a look of 16 millimeter. I wanted the audience to feel that they were watching a story unfold as opposed to a piece of journalism. So I went with the only camera on the market at the time that shot true 24 frame. And that was, I think, was the JV high-def GY series. Also, JVC uses a 720p as opposed to the 1080, so the resolution is not as crisp. And the end result, when you watch the film on the screen, is you feel, it's not so much you notice, but you feel as if it was shot with 16 millimeter film, so you feel as if you're watching a story as opposed to a piece of action journalism.
And I think also going along with the video aspect of it, that you're going to get a much deeper color depth as well, which is going to add to the naturalistic feel of a farm.
Well, actually, it's very perceptive, because in addition to this particular camera, what I did is reduce the contrast on the camera about a third of what would be natural, which means that all the blacks, everything is a little washed out and milky, and then I exposed for the highlights. Now what that meant is that your grayscale is right. I'm sorry, so complicated, but your grayscale, your grayscale, your gray, your 18% gray is almost right there at your highlights, so that then in post what you can do is you build the contrast back in, and it gives the illusion of more detail in the shadows. So it gives the illusion that you have this the latitude that film has, as opposed to the very crisp short range that video has.
Now, you have children as well?
Yes, 5.
5. Congratulations on that. As an only child, wow. So, no, but my question is having a filmmaker in the house, being exposed to an artistic form, did that at all influence them, both either when they were on camera or when they, after the fact, did it kind of spark any creativity in the kids?
It did spark a lot of creativity because we don't have a television in the house. So obviously they watch some television and they've seen movies and videos, but to actually have that experience and to really explore the things that can be done with video and with movies, it opened up a whole world for them. It was pretty neat.
I would even say, I think that maybe the unspoken thing that happened is because I was there observing, witnessing, so to speak, that it became something that was very special for them. Mm-hmm. And in a lot of ways, I think because I was there observing and witnessing what you and Paul were going through, it may have given you guys some strength. And because I had set this up in the beginning as my project was similar to yours,
right,
it meant I couldn't quit. I'm not, but I think maybe with the kids, it was all of a sudden, it was something that was really special. It meant that what they were doing was really important.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for sitting down and speaking. I also want to ask you, where can people watch this movie? Besides at Slamdance, obviously, but for those folks out there who aren't going to be able to make it here, for getting it out and reaching audiences after the festival?
Yes. No, we're applying to a lot of the festivals that are going to be happening between now and the end of the year. We've already, thanks to last night's screening, have started negotiations with possible domestic distribution. And I think it's just, I have a Facebook page for the first season, and I'm keeping a blog. And as a matter of fact, Paul, your Facebook page is connected to mine, and so that the audience can go in and listen to a lot of the things that you guys are going through. But I would say that's the best way. Right now, Facebook.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you guys again, and good luck, and I'm glad that everyone seems to be really responding positively to the movie.
Great. Thanks a lot.